Darkness filled the void as the Iron Requiem drifted between distant suns. The warship's polished hull reflected tiny sparks of starlight, but inside the corridors, a tense hush reigned. In the vast quiet, a sudden pulse cut through the silent sharp, urgent and unfamiliar. Lieutenant Kara Voss crouched at her station, brows knitting as the console crackled to life. "Captain," she whispered, voice trembling. "A distress signal. It's different." The lights flickered overhead, and the SOS code blinked in jagged glyphs. Voss had never seen this pattern before. Captain Aaron Tal rose from his chair, boots clicking against the metal deck. Tall and lean, with eyes the color of old battle scars, he stared at the display. "Source," he demanded. "Unknown," Voss replied. "It isn't one of our colonies or allies. The transmission is raw like it was sent by a dying system." Her fingers flew over the controls. "I can't trace its origin exactly, but it's close. Too close to the Outer Rim." Tal frowned. "Outer Rim is our hunting ground. If someone is begging for help there, they're either very brave or very desperate." He turned to the communications officer, Ensign Lero Mack. "Open a channel. Tell them we'll investigate." Mack hesitated. "Sir, they didn't give any coordinates, and my attempts to hail back, failing." He swallowed, voice low. "It's one way." A low alarm hummed through the ship. The Iron Requiem's artificial gravity shuddered as the ship veered. Outside the viewport, a shapeless mass crept into view. Dozens of ships, silent and black, emerging from a shimmering edge. Tal's jaw tightened. Battle stations. He moved with measured calm, but his heart thudded. This wasn't in the mission briefing. In the ready room, officers armed with pulse rifles clustered behind reinforced doors. The Deathworlders were famed for violence, feared across star systems. Yet even they had never seen a fleet so vast and silent. Lieutenant Voss whispered, "They don't bear our markings." A crackle announced weapons calibrating. The massive silhouette at the viewport took form, a single enormous ship, dwarfing the Iron Requiem. It glowed with strange lines of pale light, as if carved from starlight itself. Ensign Mack's voice quivered. They're powering weapons, shields down." Tal exhaled slowly. "Aim everything at the lead vessel's engines. Show them we're not easy prey." His voice held steel, but inside, questions swirled. Who were these newcomers? And why had a desperate SOS called them here? Moments later, energy arcs danced across space. The Deathworlders' plasma beams struck the lead ship's hull end. The shots vanished into thin air. A brief pulse of feedback sent tremors through the Requiem. "Impossible," Voss muttered. "Their shields, they're absorbing everything." The enemy fleet advanced. Tal's hand hovered over the launch controls. Then the vessel's lights dimmed, and a calm voice emerged on the comm channel, clear and resonant. "This is Commander Elias Wren of the United Earth Defense Fleet," the voice said. "We respond to a distress call from Kyler Prime. Lay down your weapons, or you will be destroyed." Silence fell. Deathworlder officers exchanged stunned looks. The humans, a species they had considered primitive, spoke with authority. They spoke not from a corner of space, but from a fleet capable of bending plasma beams into nothingness. Lieutenant Voss's eyes widened. Humans, they actually came. Tal's hand froze. Kyler Prime. Last cycle? Ensign Mack's face drained of color. "Yes, sir. The colony we ravaged." The realization hit like a shockwave. The SOS had not been from some unknown species. It had been from Kyler's survivors mere hours from extinction broadcast into every channel they could reach. And those cries had summoned humanity's might. Tal closed his eyes. His mind raced through memories of orders. Eliminate all resistance. Kyler Prime had thought themselves beyond hope. They had called desperately into the void, and the humans had listened. "They're giving us 1 minute to comply." Tal opened his eyes, voice heavy. "Open a channel to Commander Wren." He straightened his uniform. "Tell him we stand down. We'll withdraw." Mack's fingers danced over the controls. A human, Starfield and the sharp silhouette of Wren's flagship appeared on the holoscreen. Tal cleared his throat. "Commander Wren, this is Captain Aaron Tal of the Deathworlders' Iron Requiem. We withdraw our fleet. We apologize for our actions against Kyler Prime." Wren's face stern, yet not cruel, filled the display. He nodded once, understood. Cease all hostilities and depart immediately. You will receive further instructions. From Earth Command, Kyler survivors deserve protection, and we will not allow another massacre. Tal exhaled with relief. We comply. The Iron Requiem's guns powered down, and the fleet pulled back. The nebula swallowed their shapes as they retreated into the darkness. Down in the mess hall, crew members stared at their screens in disbelief. Private Jarek Velo shook his head. Humans actually care. I thought all that talk was propaganda. Voss joined him, eyes still on the flickering holoscreen. They got here the moment they found the signal. Faster than we could warp. Jarek shivered. Faster than we could even understand. In the captain's cabin, Tal sat at his desk, fingers tracing the scratches on its surface. He remembered. The faces of Kyler refugees he had seen months ago terrified families, children too young to know war. Orders had told him they posed a threat. The dark logic of conquest had ruled his mind. But now, facing humans who answered mercy with might, he saw the truth. Strength without compassion was empty. His comm panel beeped. An incoming directive from Earth Command, protected zone around Kylar, ceasefire declared, human occupation pending. The message ended with one line: let this be a lesson to all. No plea for help goes unheard. Tal stood, shoulders squared. He tapped the console. All hands, adjust course for home. Report to debriefing. As the Requiem turned, its engines thrummed. Outside the viewport, stars streaked by in silent salute. The Deathworlders would carry a new story back to their home world, a story of humans who defied expectation, arriving at the universe's edge to answer a call. Below decks, the crew began to question everything they had known, and somewhere, among the survivors of Kyler Prime, hope rekindled. A simple SOS, sent in fear and pain, had shaken the stars and reshaped the fate of two civilizations. The Iron Requiem slipped away from the nebula's edge, leaving humans to guard the fallen world. In the growing light of dawn on Kyler Prime, refugees poured from hidden shelters. They looked up at the sky and saw a human vessel hovering overhead like a promised commander. Wren addressed them through open channels. You are safe now. We heard your SOS. Humanity stands with you. Tears and cheers rose from the crowd. Children pointed at the sky, and elders bowed their heads in quiet thanks. A new alliance took root in that moment, born from a desperate plea and answered by hands that chose to save rather than destroy. And so, in the empty reaches of space, the galaxy learned a lesson. Mercy could be the universe's greatest weapon, and a single signal of hope could echo across light years to bring the fiercest rescue. The cold void pressed against the hull of the Iron Requiem as it slipped farther from Kyler Prime inside. Captain Aaron Tal stood at the edge of the bridge, eyes fixed on the fading nebula. He felt the weight of every life caught in the SOS, both Kyler survivors and his own crew's shaken hearts. Lieutenant Caravas joined him quietly. Captain, she said, voice low, our sensors show human ships still holding position above the planet. They mean to stay. Tal nodded. Good. Kyler needs time to heal. He glanced back at his officers, plot a course home. We have orders to return to Deathworld. A murmur rippled through the bridge. Ensign Lero Mack spoke up, hands trembling. Sir, what about the Kyler refugees who want to join us? They believe humans saved them. Tal folded his arms. He recalled the hope in their eyes as they stepped from hiding. We cannot carry them all, he said firmly. They belong with those who saved them. Mack swallowed. Yes, sir? The bridge fell silent again as the Requiem's engines engaged. On Kyler Prime, dawn broke in soft violet light. Refugees emerged from underground bunkers, blinking at the sky. Human shuttles ferried food, water, and medicine. Sturdy soldiers in white armor guided families toward makeshift shelters. Commander Elias Wren stood on a raised platform, speaking into open channels. This is Earth defense. We will build a safe zone. Engineers and doctors, please report in. His calm voice carried across speakers. A Kyler Elder MRA stepped forward. Wrinkles lined his face like riverbeds. Thank you, he said. Our people owe you our lives. One soldier, Private Suri Chen, knelt before MRA. We are here to help, she said. Tell us what you need most. He pointed toward crumbled buildings, homes, schools, a place where children can laugh again. Chen's eyes shone. We will build them. She rose, pride softening her features. Back aboard the Iron Requiem, a secret meeting took place in a dimly lit corridor. For officers in black cloaks huddled close. "This is betrayal," growled Commander Hax. His voice was harsh. "Tal endangered our empire by standing down." Lieutenant Grinjet gripped his sleeve. "Orders are orders, but I say we strike. While humans are busy on Kylor, they will not expect us." A woman, Subcommander Etha, nodded slowly. "If we seize their base, we reclaim our honor. And we save our people from Earth's rule." Hax's eyes narrowed. "Agree. We move at midnight." They dispersed into the shadows, each face lit by cold conviction. Tal sensed unease as he walked the corridors later. Officers whispered in corners. The victory at Kylor felt hollow to many. He entered his ready room where Voss waited. "Something's wrong," he said. "I feel eyes on me." Double quotes. Voss tapped her console. "I intercepted messages. Some of your senior officers are planning a strike on the human base." Her fingers flew. "They call it Operation Requiem." Tal's heart sank. Time. Midnight. Local Kylor time. Less than 8 hours. He squared his shoulders. "Then we must stop it before it begins." Under the dim red glow of the ship's low-power lights, Tal and Voss gathered loyal crew in a small briefing room. Only 10 officers knew the full truth. "We cannot allow a massacre," Tal said quietly. "Humans came to save lives. We owe them our honor, and they will not forgive betrayal." Lieutenant Merrick, a tall figure with silver tattoos, spoke up. "How do we stop Hax? He commands half our firepower." Tal tapped a datapad. "We disable our weapons systems from inside. You'll bind the main power conduit, Voss and I will. Confront Hax directly." The group nodded, determination in their eyes. Meanwhile, near the human encampment on Kylor, Private Suri Chen patrolled the perimeter. The night air was still, broken only by distant shouts of laborers building shelters. She paused by a supply crate, checking manifest numbers. "Hey, sir," called Corporal Diaz, adjusting a tarp. "Think we'll see anything strange tonight? I heard rumors of warships out there." Chen tightened her grip on her rifle. "We have patrol drones. Nothing slips by." Yet her heart thumped. She remembered. The wide eyes of the Kylor children, their fear had not fully left her mind. "Chen, command here. Unidentified ship approaching your sector. Silhouette looks like a Deathworlder shuttle." She exhaled. "On my way." Tal crept down maintenance ducts toward the armory node. Sparks danced as he tapped power conduits. Offline, Voss worked at a nearby panel, humming to mask nervous breath. Behind them, Lieutenant Merrick stood guard. A sudden alarm blared, red lights flashing. Intruders detected the ship's AI, intoned in a cold voice. Tal cursed under his breath. "They've triggered the alert." He ripped off his gloves. Hack's nose. Voss's eyes widened. "We move now." She activated the override, and the conduits dimmed. Outside, the hum of primed weapons stuttered. On Kylor ground, Chun's shuttle landed softly. She climbed out, rifle raised. Around her, aluminum buildings glinted in moonlight. Then she saw it. A lone black shuttle touching down near a human supply depot. A figure stepped into the glow. Hax. His smooth black armor bore no rank insignia now. He raised a hand. "Stand down, human." Chen's finger hovered over the trigger. "You don't speak for him anymore." "You're a traitor." Hax tilted his helmet. "Your leaders don't know the whole story. The Deathworlder Empire will crush you soon." Chen's heart pounded. "We'll see about that." She pressed the come button. "Enemy on my position. Need backup." Inside the Iron Requiem, Tal and Voss raced to the bridge. Power flickered, consoles dying. They burst through blast doors into chaos. Half the crew wrestled officers who had drawn weapons. Alarms blared. Tal called out, "Secure the mutineers. Protect the ship." He grabbed Hax by the shoulder as he stormed past. "This ends now." Hax spun, blade drawn. "Traitor, you'll pay for this kindness to humans." Voss lunged, kicking Hax's blade aside. Merrick and other loyal officers closed in, binding Hax's arms with energy cuffs. Tal stared down at Hax. I answer to duty on to Mercy. He nodded to Voss. Take him to Brig. Meanwhile, on Kyler, Chen ducked behind a crate as Hax's shuttle prepared to lift off. She fired a stun bolt at its engines. Sparks flew. The shuttle rocked from the darkness. Volunteers of Kyler refugees, armed with makeshift spears, rushed forward to help. Soldiers joined them. Together, they surrounded the shuttle. Hax screamed. Inside, fists pounding the walls. The engines hissed and died. The shuttle shuddered to a halt. Chen lowered her rifle. They won't get away. Relief washed over her dot. Back on the Requiem, Tal convened a council in the war room. Hax and his co-conspirators stood bound. It was a grim display of justice. Captain Tal addressed his officers. Our empire must learn from this. Mercy and strength can walk together. We have allies in humanity now, Lieutenant Voss added. The humans saved Kyler. They can teach us to rebuild. A murmur of agreement spread. Lieutenant Merrick spoke softly. Will we ever see the humans again? Tal looked at the holoscreen showing Kyler's horizon. Yes, soon we will return, as friends. On Kyler's dusty plains, dawn gilded the new shelters in pale gold. Refugees waved as human transports flew overhead, carrying materials and workers. Children laughed as they chased each other around tents. Private Suri Chen stood beside Mara, watching the scene. He patted her shoulder. You have done well, soldier. She smiled tiredly. We all fight for peace now. Ara nodded. This world may know war no more. Back on Earth, Commander Ren reviewed reports in his command center. The Deathworlders' withdrawal made headlines across the galaxy. Scenes of Kyler's rescue brought hope to many worlds. His aide entered, Sir New SOS, from beyond the Niven. Expanse, a planet under siege. Ren's blue eyes hardened. Prepare the fleet. We answer all calls. He turned to a holomap, tracing light years of space. No SOS goes unheard, he whispered Dot, and in the silence, a new chorus of hope. And fear began to echo across the stars, proof that one desperate plea could change the fate of all. The hum of the flagship's engines vibrated through the command center as Commander Elias Wren studied the new distress call. Beyond the Niven expanse, an alien world named Thesera had sent a signal pleas for help, woven into cries of ancient pain. Wren frowned at the flickering holoscreen. They mention a plague of living storms, he murmured. Around him, aides paused in their tasks, exchanging uneasy glances. No one had ever faced storms that consumed flesh and metal alike. This could be more dangerous than any warship. Lieutenant Caravas stood beside Wren, tracing the signals. Path across the star map. Their coordinates are deep in uncharted space, she said. It will take us 5 days at maximum warp. Wren nodded. Assemble the relief fleet. Send medical teams, engineers, and the Iron Requiem. We go at once. Voss's eyes widened. Captain Tal's ship. Are Deathworlders ready to join? U.S. again. In the murky corridors of the Iron Requiem, Captain Aaron Tall felt a tremor of anticipation. His mutiny had failed, but his crew had learned mercy. Now they would sail into another unknown. Tal marched through the bridge with purpose. He addressed his officers. We answer this SOS. We owe that to our new allies. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Lieutenant Merrick tapped the helm. Course plotted. We launch within the hour. Private Suri Chen, back at the human camp on Kyler Prime, heard the news over com channels. She paused in her patrol, listening to chatter about Thesera's plague. Her memories of helping Kyler's refugees made her heart ache for new victims. I want to volunteer for the medical shuttles, she told Corporal Diaz. He grinned. Of course, you're the best with the injured. She nodded. Steal in. Her gaze, then I'll do what I do best. At Earth Command, engineers loaded crates, marked biohazard onto shuttles. Doctors donned white suits with sealed helmets. Each carried scanners to detect the living storms if, indeed storms of living matter, could be scanned. Commander Wren watched them prepare. He thought of the terrified messages. They devour crops, burn skin, and snuff out light. He shivered. This mission will test every skill we have, he told Voss. She gave him a steady look. We learn fast, sir. Meanwhile, in the Deathworlder Alliance Council aboard Iron Requiem, Subcommander Etha argued with Hax's replacement in command. We must respect Earth Command's directives, she said firmly. The council chamber, Once the scene of conspiracy, now hosted heated but respectful debate. Tal presided. "We have a chance to prove our worth," he said. "We will save lives rather than take them." A roar of approval shook the walls. Even Hax's loyalists stayed silent in awe of this new unity. 3 days later, the joint fleet entered uncharted space. The Sura glowed like a sick ember against the dark. Its atmosphere writhed in orange storms that pulsed and shifted as though alive. Scanners struggled to map the world's surface. "I'm detecting movement within the storms," Voss reported. "Something is adapting to our probes." Satellites sent down to take samples vanished in moments. Wren's face hardened. "Those storms are more than weather. They're predators." The first shuttle to touch down landed near a ruined city. Its sleek hull contrasted with crumbling spires. Creeched vines of storm energy wriggled through broken windows. Medical teams spilled out, carrying supplies. Private Chen led a group toward the worst damage. Hospital roof collapsed under living tendrils that had eaten through concrete. The storm vines pulsated, leaving burned edges on stone. She swallowed. "Don protective shields." "We move in fast." A low rumble rose as the living storm sensed intrusion. It unfurled like a giant snake, each tendril seeking warmth. The doctor recoiled. One screamed as a vine brushed his mask, melting the plastic. Chen grabbed him back. "Back, back," she shouted. Energetic pulses from human weapons cut the vines, but the plants reassembled as if guided by a single will. "They heal too quickly," a doctor warned. Voss's voice crackled and come. "Withdraw to safe distance." On Iron Requiem, Tal studied. Streaming visuals from the ground. The living storm coalesced into shapes twisted forms that resembled human and alien faces, screaming. "It's feeding on our fear," he said. Subcommander Etha frowned. "We must find the source." Tal nodded. Sensors traced the energy patterns to their origin. "Then we hit it at its heart." Merrick tapped controls. "I've found a core facility underground." Wren convened a war council in his flagship's holochamber. "We stormed that facility," he ordered. "Mercy teams stay behind unless needed." Voss raised a hand. "Sir, we don't know what we'll face. These storms are alive." He met her gaze. "We adapt. We save this world." A tense nod passed through the officers. The operation was set, that night, under Thazura's violet sky. Dropships hovered above the quake-shattered landscape. Marines and engineers descended toward the underground facility. Chen rode in the lead craft rifle at the ready. Her breath fogged inside the helmet. She glanced at the ruins, then at the restless horizon. Lightning of living storm crackled above, reflecting off her visor. Inside the facility, corridors of sleek metal were ruined by storm growths. Pillars writhed, ceilings dripped living goo that hissed as it hit the floor. Engineers scanned walls. "This was a research station," one whispered. They tried to study the storms, not knowing they were its prison. The group exchanged frightened looks. They walked through the jail of a monster. Suddenly, alarms blared. A massive vine burst through the ceiling, wrapping around a Marine's leg. He fell, screaming. Marines opened fire. Rounds shredded the vine, but it recoiled like a wounded beast. The walls trembled overhead. The facility flares died, plunging them into darkness. "Emergency lights only," a lieutenant shouted. Chen's radio crackled. "All units, fall back to entrance." As they retreated, the living storm pursued, sending tendrils through walls and vents. Marines ran in panic, dragging wounded. Engineers carried data cores. Chen fired steady bursts, keeping corridors clear. Finally, they spilled into the open air, where human shields held the storm at bay. The living vines reeled back into the ground, leaving smoking scars. Wren's flagship loomed overhead, its cannons ready. At his command, tactical beams struck 10 meters from the facility's entrance. The blasts ripped through concrete. Vines shrieked as they disintegrated. The core building stood, battered but intact. Wren turned to Voss. "They hold fast." Voss frowned at her console. "Sir, the core's energy signature is rising. It's feeding from our suppression field." Wren's jaw clenched. "Then we give it more to feed on." He tapped a sequence. Ion charges dropped around the structure. The bombs detonated in synchronized bursts. A wave of energy hammered the storms, scattering them in every direction. Below, the ground heaved. The facility trembled and then collapsed inward with a thunderous roar. Dust and rubble billowed into the sky, carrying storm particles that fizzled out like embers. Silence fell. When the air cleared, rescue teams moved in. They found destroyed machinery and scorched earth, but no sign of living storm. Medical officers tended to the wounded. Chen helped a scientist who had been trapped. "Are they gone?" she asked, voice choked. The scientist shook his head. "Gone, but I fear they've ceded the land." Commander Ren appeared beside Tal, who had disembarked with his officers. They stared at the ruin together. Tal's expression was grim. "We saved the people," he said quietly, "but the world is wounded deeper than we thought." Ren nodded. "We heal it, we stay until it's safe." A sudden tremor shook the ground. The survivors looked up as the horizon glowed with pale green light. A new storm nucleus formed at the edge of the city, larger, more furious than before. Vines whipped skyward, spiral bands of living energy twisting like serpents. Tal opened his mouth to warn Ren, but the commander already spoke. "All hands prepare for the true fight." Both human and Deathworlder forces braced as the living storm rose, shaping itself into a monstrous silhouette against the Sura's shattered skyline. In that moment, every soldier and scientist realized the battle had only begun, and that mercy, once again, would need the full force of their courage. The air trembled as the living storm towered over the ruined city. Its coiling tendrils stretched into the sky like dark fingers, and the wind howled with the roar of 1,000 beasts. Human and Deathworlder troops formed lines of defense, energy, shields flaring as they braced against the charged air. Commander Ren's voice crackled over every comm channel. "Hold fast, do not let it break through." Captain Tal stood beside Ren, his armor scorched by storm fragments. "Their shields won't last," Tal warned. "We need to strike at its core again." Lieutenant Voss tapped her gauntlet. "Sir!" The core signature jumped. "It's not in the ruins, it's below ground, deeper than the old research station." Ren's jaw tightened. "Then we go deeper." He turned to his aide. "Prepare the subterranean probes. Marek, Voss, you're with me." Below the surface, in the twisting tunnels of the ancient facility, emergency lights cast long shadows. Engineers led by Major Sato scanned walls etched with strange symbols, an alien alphabet that pulsed with energy. Every glyph seemed alive, writhing as if feeding off the storm above. Private Surichun's breath came in quick bursts. She gripped her rifle tight, watching every dark corner. "These passages, they're growing," she muttered to Corporal Diaz. "Look at the floor veins breaking through the cracks." Diaz shone his torch. "They're feeding off the storm energy. The deeper we go, the stronger they grow." He swung the light to reveal a doorway carved into the rock. A soft blue glow beckoned from within. "This is it." Ren led the way, plasma pistol drawn. Marek and Voss flanked him, while Tal and 3 Deathworlder officers brought up the rear. Chen and Diaz covered the flanks, rifles raised, together. They stepped through the gateway into a vast underground cathedral. The cavern was dominated by a colossal crystal, pulsating with green light. Storm energy arced around it, and tendrils snaked from its base into the walls. Instruments hummed as Voss scanned the structure. "This crystal, it's the heart," she said. "Everything here links to it." Major Sato knelt by a console. This was their control nexus, a living reactor for the storms. They tried to harness the weather as a weapon. A low rumble shook the chamber. The crystal flared brighter, and the tunnels quaked. Ren barked, "We have minutes, maybe seconds. We hit it with everything." Tal hefted a heavy pulse cannon. "On my mark 3, 2, 1. He fired, and a stream of crackling energy blasted into the crystal's side. The light flared white-hot, sending shockwaves through the room. Vines lashed out, slamming officers into the walls. Chen dove, firing stun bolts that ripped through the writhing growth. Diaz threw a charge at a collapsing support beam. "Cover me!" he shouted as the beam crashed down, blocking a surge of vines. The crystal shook violently. Sparks flew from broken conduits. Voss shouted, "We need to overload it." "Set the charges," Ren nodded. "Tell, place the ion charges at the base. I'll hold them off." Tal sprinted forward, dodging thrashing veins of storm matter. He wedged the charges around the crystal's foundation. Each one clicked into place. Beneath his boots, all the while, the chamber's lights flickered and the air grew thick with charged dust. Marek and Voss fought back the encroaching vines, cutting them with disciplined fire. Voss yelled, "Charges set. Evacuate now." Ren covered the retreat, firing his pistol until the last vine fell. He vaulted over a tangle of pulsing matter and joined Tal near the gateway. "Move!" he commanded. They raced up the slope, vines reaching to grab at their legs. Behind them, explosions echoed one by one. The ion charges detonated. A shockwave of blue-white light blasted through the tunnels, and the crystal cracked, energy released in a deafening roar, shattering walls. And sending debris flying, Tal and Ren burst into the open air, coughing in the sudden breeze. The storm above shuddered, its shape unraveling like fabric torn in two. Vines recoiled, dissolving into motes of harmless mist. Then, with a final flicker, the living storm collapsed into the city ruins. Silence followed, broken only by the distant groan of settling rubble. Soldiers lowered weapons, staring at the fading echoes of the storm's glow. Ren exhaled heavily. "It's over." Voss joined them, wiping sweat and grime from her brow. "The crystal's gone. The storms should never come back." Tal looked at the sky, now clear except for drifting ash. "We did it together," he said softly. Private Chen knelt to help a wounded engineer. "We couldn't have done it without each other," she replied. Ren nodded. "This alliance, it saved Thisura." That night, survivors emerged from hiding. Children played in moonlit streets, and families tended to the wounded. A Kyler elder MRA, now visiting Thisura, addressed the gathered crowd. "You saved us again," he said, voice cracking. "Human and Deathworlder hands, both. We thank you." A cheer rose from the assembly. Tal and Ren exchanged proud smiles. They had faced impossible odds in 3 worlds, and each time, mercy and unity had prevailed. But as dawn approached, Voss received a new sensor. Alert a faint pulse beyond the exoplanet's outer rings. Ren studied the readout. That frequency. It's the same as the original SOS from Kylar. Tal frowned. A distress call from space. Voss tapped her gauntlet. "It's not coming from Kylar Prime. It's wild, drifting across sectors. I think someone sent a beacon." Ren's eyes narrowed. "A call we haven't heard." Tal's voice was quiet, but firm. "Then we answer it." He turned to the officers around him. "Prepare the fleet. We leave in 1 hour." As they dispersed, Ren paused. "You really think someone out there needs help?" Tal gazed at the fading stars. "I know," he lifted his cum to his lips. "All ships set for deep space. No SOS goes unheard." Then he closed his eyes, remembering every life saved by a simple call for help, and wondering what mysteries lay beyond the next signal in the silent reaches of the galaxy. A new beacon pulsed, waiting to be answered, and humanity joined by former foes would sail once more into the unknown. The deep black void stretched before the fleet as the combined human Deathworlder armada slipped into uncharted space. Captain Aaron Tal stood on the deck of the Iron Requiem, watching distant stars drift like silent witnesses. Around him, his officers busied themselves recalibrating sensors, checking the warp drives, and monitoring the mysterious beacon's signal strength. Lieutenant Kara Voss approached, datapad in hand. "Captain, we're 15 light-years from Kylar Prime. The beacon signal just jumped in frequency. It's stronger now." She tapped the screen. "Coordinates set. We're heading toward a small cluster near the Perseone Rift." Tal nodded. "Good. Keep an eye on our shields. These sectors can be unpredictable." He turned to Subcommander Etha. "Maintain standard formation, but be ready to disperse if needed." Etha's voice was crisp. "Aye, Captain. All ships notified." On the bridge of the flagship Aurora's Light, Commander Elias Ren monitored his own console. "Lieutenant Chen," he called into the comm channel, "how goes our preparations for first contact?" Private Suri Chun's voice crackled back. "Medical teams are ready, sir. I've loaded extra triage kits and environment suits." Ren studied her name on the list of active channels. "Good work." He leaned forward. With a sudden jolt, the armada leaped through hyperspace and dropped into normal space, emerging in a region of sparse asteroids and glowing gas filaments. The beacon's pulse flickered in the sensor grid, a steady heartbeat amid emptiness. Beacon source is only 12 million kilometers away. No planets detected in local scans, just a small asteroid cluster. Tal frowned. Then someone sent an SOS from out here. Make sense of it? He turned to Marek. Deploy remote probes. Scan for signs of life-form signatures. Marek tapped the console, probes away. Tiny drones shot into the asteroid field, their lights dim against the vastness. Moments later, data flooded in. Voss's eyes searched the readout. Captain, it's human DNA mixed with alien biotech signatures. Or Deathworlder, Etha pressed, a hand to her chin. Impossibly, our technology can't splice living storms or human genes. This is far beyond us. Wren's voice came over the cum. We've also detected faint power readings, old warp engines, maybe a derelict vessel. Tal exchanged a glance with Wren's hologram. We go in person, launch one shuttle, bring the scientists and medics, keep weapons trained outward. Aye, Voss agreed. Shuttle Team Alpha, prepare for exploration. The exploration shuttle curved between jagged asteroids. Beside her, Dr. Ishan Patel checked a handheld scanner, brow furrowed. Anything unusual? Chen asked quietly. Patel tapped the scanner. Energy readings are inconsistent. Some areas show no power at all, then spike with heat signatures, and life signs to faint pulses, very weak. Chen stared ahead. Are we expecting survivors? Patel shrugged. If this is a shipwreck, maybe 2 passengers. He snapped a glove into place. I just hope they're alive. Outside the viewport, a massive hull loomed, part buried in a ring of rock, part broken open. That must be it. The shuttle's engines flared as they touched down on a smooth plateau. The hatch hissed open, and a chill wind swept in. Chen opened her suit visor and exhaled, helmet lights cutting through dust. Tal had insisted she lead the landing party. She stepped out, scanning with her rifle's low power mode. Marek and 2 engineers followed, carrying detection gear. Dr. Patel slipped behind them, medical bag slung over his shoulder. Stay close. Those vines, they reacted to our probe scans. Be careful not to touch them. Chen approached the wreck's opening. The hull's edge had crushed like aluminum foil. Inside, dark corridors led into deeper shadows. She raised her mic. Captain Tal, Team Alpha, on site. We're about to enter. Tal's calm voice crackled back. Proceed with caution. Chen's light danced over the floor, cracked panels, wires, and partial human footprints smeared in dust. She followed the prints, rifle up, until the corridor turned and opened into a small chamber. Inside lay 2 figures, slumped against a bulkhead. One was clothed in a scorched uniform human. The other, a figure with gray-green skin and delicate ridges along the scalalion. Both lay very still. Patel hurried forward. Biometrics, he pressed his scanner to the humans. Neck-weak pulse, they're alive, barely. The vines had wound around its limbs, as though cradling rather than strangling. Its chest heaved in slow breaths. Marek aimed his rifle at the vines. Ordered to remove them, Tal's voice came back. Only if Patel deems it safe. We don't know their function. Patel frowned. These vines, they're symbiotic. They're keeping the heart beating. But they glow. Some energy transfer is happening. Tal's hologram flickered in Chun's cum. We transport them back to the Requiem's medbay. Carefully, his voice softened. We owe them that much. Chen nodded, voice low. Understood. Back on the Iron Requiem, the medbay hummed with activity. Chen and Patel laid the 2 survivors on biobeds. Dr. Lyra co-applied healing salves, while alien medic Githra monitored the foreign biology. Patel adjusted the vine's grip. They're slowing the decay of tissue. But if we leave them too long, harm could come. He carefully peeled a section away. The vine retracted without harming the alien's skin. The human survivor stirred, coughing. Chen stepped forward. Easy there. You're safe now. The human's eyes fluttered open, bloodshot, frightened. He tried to speak, but only a croak emerged. It pushed itself up, gaze landing on Patel, then Chen. It stared, curiosity overriding fear. Ko held up a translation orb. We ask peace, she said, and the orb converted her words into the alien's language. The creature's brow furrowed, then its shoulders relaxed slightly. Tal arrived in the medbay, silent but commanding. Patel nodded. Their ship's logs were wiped brute force, as if by design. We recovered fragments indicating the signal was sent from the ship itself, calling for help. Tal frowned. So they were trapped here, stranded. But why hybrid biology, and who attacked them? Ithra spoke, voice gentle. The vines are biotechnically grown from a living storm process. Someone engineered these as life support. She paused. Perhaps they sought to combine physiology for survival. Tal's gaze darkened. Or to create weapons. He turned to Wren's hologram. Commander Wren, we've found survivors both, human and alien. They're stable, but we need answers. Wren crossed his arms. Good work. I authorize full medical and security investigations, and I want you to find out who did this and why. That evening, Tal convened a meeting with his senior staff in the Iron Requiem's war room. Holographic displays of the derelict ship and the two survivors floated in the center. Voss addressed the group. Whoever orchestrated this stayed hidden, likely watching us probe. Tal stabbed a finger at the display. That means our actions here are being monitored. Our only leads are the ship's remaining logs and the memories of the survivors. Marek shook his head. They're barely conscious. Any interrogations must wait until they're stronger. Trauma can wipe memories, but I recommend we scan neural patterns, see if we can recover flash impressions. Tal nodded. Do it, and alert Earth Command. This could be a new threat to the galaxy. I don't like this, he murmured to Voss, who had joined him via hologram. Someone out here is playing both sides. She frowned. Wren's eyes narrowed. That's military grade. They're sending intel back to someone, maybe an unknown fleet. We need to trace those transmissions. Days passed as the survivors recovered slowly. The human Lieutenant Commander Jonah Ketz regained his strength first. When he could speak, he described how his ship, the Horizon's Dawn, had rushed to rescue scientists experimenting with living storm biotech. A powerful faction within those scientists had feared the technology's danger. When Keats tried to stop them, they sabotaged the ship and fled, leaving him and Dr. Allura Cetis behind. Dr. Cetis, the alien survivor, had been the lead researcher. She confessed to planting her own DNA into the experiment, hoping to bond the storm's healing properties with living flesh. But the storms turned on them, seeking life, not preserving it. In the chaos, her colleagues activated a distress beacon, then fled in escape pods. Keats leaned back, remorse in his eyes. We created monsters, he said wearily, and then we abandoned them. Tal studied him. You won't be abandoned again. He placed a hand on Keats's shoulder. We'll find your colleagues and answered that SOS 2. Across the Armada, reconnaissance drones launched, tracing the encrypted bursts back toward a dark nebula. Wren and Tal watched as the path curved a loop, sending data back to one of the researchers' secret bases on the rim of known space. Wren's voice was cold. They won't hide from us. We strike at dawn. Tal nodded, and we bring our hunters to justice. As night fell and the stars wheeled overhead, the combined fleet prepared to jump into the nebula's edge. Somewhere inside lay those who had twisted Mercy into Tyrande. More answers waiting in the dark, in the silent halls of both warships. Hope and vengeance burned side by side, forging the next chapter of their shared destiny. The Armada's warp drives hummed as it plunged into the swirling gases of the dark nebula. Stars dimmed behind the curtain of cosmic dust, and the sensor arrays strained against interference. Captain Aaron Tal stood on the Iron Requiem's bridge, watching swirling green clouds drift by the viewport. He felt a familiar pull in his chesticle parts, tension and resolve. Lieutenant Caravas hovered at her console. Captain, sensor strength is down to 40%. We'll lose more power deeper in. She tapped controls. I recommend deploying scout drones to guide us through the densest pockets. Tal nodded. Do it. Keep the fleet in tight formation. Behind us, below decks, Private Suri Chen suited up with Corporal Diaz and a team of Marines. Each wore reinforced armor and carried ion rifles calibrated to stun or kill. Chen checked her rifle's charge. We need to move fast once we locate the base, she muttered. Diaz gave a short nod. Understood. I still don't like fighting in this fog. He tapped his cum. Let's bring those researchers to justice alive if we can. On the Aurora's light, Commander Elias Wren studied the encrypted burst's trajectory. A holomap displayed a looping course through the nebula's heart, ending at a small asteroid field. There, he said, pointing. Their messages hop between relay points. That's where the secret base awaits. His aide, Lieutenant Kim, tapped a datapad. We'll send in a stealth frigate first. See what's inside before the main fleet arrives. Tal's holoscreen blinked. Wren's hologram appeared beside him. We're ready, Wren said. Stealth frigate, moving on your signal. Tal agreed. Proceed. The moment you confirm a target, we'll lock weapons and jump in. Minutes later, Tal gave the order. All capital ships, mark target coordinates, prepare for immediate attack. On my command, now, the fleet vanished, leaving only the scout drones drifting like fireflies. The frigate slipped ahead, its shadowy hull almost invisible. Moments stretched like hours as everyone waited. Then the frigate's voice crackled over secured channels, base sighted, coordinates locked. Surface installations look abandoned, but we detect life signs. 20 to 30 active humans. Wren's eyes narrowed. They must be hiding inside. Marines, ready yourselves? On the Requiem's hangar deck, Tal met Chin's team. He laid out the plan in clear, simple words. You'll board the stealth frigate once it docks. Push through the main entrance, secure the hallways, then find the lab where our target scientists work. I want them alive. Bring them to me. He looked at each Marine. Any questions? Corporal Diaz raised a hand. What if they've set traps? Tal paused. Then we'll adapt. You know what's at stake. He placed a hand on Chen's shoulder. I trust you. The frigate eased alongside the Requiem's airlock, magnetic clamps securing them together. A hiss echoed as the hatch opened. Chen led her Marines through the narrow corridor, rifles at the ready. The darkness within the base pressed against their lights, casting long shadows on the metal walls. Stay close, she whispered. Sensors show movement ahead. They advanced in single file, boots echoing. Suddenly, a hatch slid open. A lone figure stumbled out, bound at the wrists. He collapsed at their feet, breathing hard. Chen leveled her rifle. Hands where I can see them. The man shook his head. I'm Jonah Keatselty, Commander Horizon's Dawn. Please help me. She holstered her weapon. You're safe now, medic. She waved for Corporal Diaz, who moved forward to begin treatment. Inside the control room, Tal and Wren watched security feeds. Flickering images showed the Marines clearing rooms and cuffing other scientists. Lieutenant Voss joined them. They're moving into the central lab. Tal studied the display. Good. Be ready to lock the facility down when they reach it. In the lab corridor, Chen's team paused before sliding doors marked Biotech Research. A red light blinked. Pressure seal active, Chen whispered. She tapped her cum. Tal, we're at the lab entrance. Seal the base. Tal's voice answered immediately. Understood. Lockdown in 3, 2, 1. Now a soft hum rose as blast doors slid into place throughout the base. The lights dimmed to emergency red. Alarms blinked. In the lab ahead, voices shouted in panic. Chen signaled her team forward. The doors parted, revealing rows of glass tanks filled with strange living matter. Scientists hurried to pack data drives. One of them, Dr. Amina Sol, cried out, Stop, you can't take that. A Marine stepped forward, rifle aimed. Step away from the console. Sol hesitated, tears in her eyes. You don't understand. This project could save billions if used properly. Chun's eyes narrowed. You left people to die because you pursued your work. Now you face the consequences. Sol's shoulders slumped. We panicked. We thought the storms could be contained, but they turned on us. A sudden thud echoed behind them as another scientist tried to slip away and was grabbed by Diaz's squad. Chen cuffed Sol's hands. You're under arrest for endangering the galaxy. She guided Sol toward the exit. The Marines formed a protective ring around the data, drives and biological samples. Tal's voice came over the cum. Charge bays open. Bring them here. The Marines loaded the prisoners onto a hover stretcher. Chen called back. On our way. In the main hangar, Tal awaited with a small escort. Sol, Keats, and Cedes were escorted out, escorted under guard toward the command deck. Wren stood beside Tal, arms crossed, You did well, Ren said quietly to Chen. This could have turned ugly. Chen nodded, exhaustion in her eyes. We did what had to be done. She stepped back as Tal greeted the prisoners. Soul glared, defiant even in defeat. You'll never control this technology, she spat. Tal's expression was cold. We'll make sure it never harms anyone. Again he turned to Ren. Take them to custody. Then we purge any remaining biotech labs. Ren motioned to his aide. Prepare demolition charges. Sweep the base for any hidden cores. He nodded to Tal. Once we've destroyed this threat, what's our next move? Tal stared out into the darkness of space. We follow every distress signal we receive. No more secrets. As the prisoners were led away, Voss tapped her console. Base integrity at 20%. Charges set. She met Tal's eyes. Ready? He gave a slight nod. Do it. A series of controlled explosions ripped through the facility. Metal groaned and walls buckled. The Requiem's shields flared as debris rocketed outward. The labyrinth of tunnels collapsed into itself. Then silence returned. In the aftermath, the fleet gathered above the broken asteroid field. Ren addressed the assembled captains via hololink. The base is destroyed. The prisoners are in custody. The biotech threat is neutralized for now. Tal added, but these events prove one thing. Someone is experimenting with living storms for power. We must discover who ordered this and stop them before more lives are at risk. Ren's blue eyes met Tal's stern gaze. Agreed. We have a galaxy to protect. Below deck, Chen and Diaz stood at the viewport, watching the nebulas swirling. Clouds. Diaz exhaled. That was too close. Chen rested her hand on the glass. But we did it. We answered the call. She turned to him, determination shining. No matter what comes next, we'll be ready. Behind them, the captains prepared to plot their next course. The distress beacon still pulsed faintly on the sensor grid, a reminder that someone out there still needed help, and wherever that SOS originated, humanity and its new allies would be there to answer it. The fleet slipped away from the shattered nebula, leaving behind drifting debris and echoes of controlled explosions. Captain Aaron Tal gazed at the viewport, the faint pulse of the distress beacon still marking their path. Even now, the signal flickered like a dying heartbeat, urging them onward. Beside him, Lieutenant Kara Voss studied the sensor readouts. It's stronger now, she said softly. The source lies deeper in the Persine rift cluster. Tal nodded, voice firm, set course. We have no choice but to answer. As the Armada moved into uncharted space, Private Suri Chen paced on the shuttle deck. The events at the secret base haunted her thoughts. The hybrid vines, the twisted research, the abandoned survivors. She pressed a hand to her cum badge. Captain Tal, she said when the line opened, crew morale is shaky. They wonder if every beacon will lead to another trap. His calm reply came over the speakers. We proceed with caution and honor. We owe that to everyone who sent the call. Chen exhaled, determination returning. Understood. Commander Elias Ren joined Toll on the bridge as the Aurora's light dropped out of warp. We're approaching the coordinates, Ren reported. The hollow map displayed a dense cluster of small asteroids, half hidden in swirling gas. Visual range in 10 seconds, said Lieutenant Marek. The viewport cleared to reveal a battered space station. Its hull scarred by countless impacts, it spun slowly, lights flickering in random patterns. No banners or insignia marked its origin. Vines of bioluminescent growth curled around fuel ports and docking clamps, as if the station itself were half alive. Voss adjusted the magnification. It's huge, at least 2 kilometers across. Abandoned long ago, but vines keep spreading. Tal frowned. Send in the drones first. No manned approach until we know the hazards. The hangar doors opened, and a swarm of scout drones spilled into the void. Their lights swept over the station's surface, mapping every crack and growth. Within seconds, data streamed back. Hidden docking bays, breached corridors, and dense vine clusters around the central core. They used the vines for power, Voss murmured. A living generator feeding on station supplies. Chen and her shuttle team prepared for deployment. She ran a final check on her ion rifle and medkit. Corporal Diaz joined her, voice low. Another trap, or a chance to save lives. She met his gaze, resolute. The shuttle detached from the Aurora's light and glided toward the station, tether lines connecting them until the docking clamps engaged. A hiss sounded as the airlock equalized pressure. Chen's heart pounded, but her training took over. She and Diaz led the Marines into the gloom. Inside, the corridors were silent, except for the hum of distant machinery. Vines crept along the walls, pulsating with soft green light. Each footstep echoed ominously. "Keep your eyes open," Chen whispered. "Sensors show no life signs, but vines can be dangerous." They advanced past shattered control panels and fallen crates. At one junction, a vine burst through the floor, wrapping around a fallen console. Lieutenant Mack knelt and aimed his rifle. "Stun setting," he said. The bolt struck the vine, and it recoiled, leaving a smoldering mark. Non-lethal. He noted they react to aggression. A sudden chime announced a life sign reading. Chen froze. "Follow me." They turned down a side corridor, where a soft glow marked an intact door labeled HAB module. Beyond it, colonists huddled. In clusters, humans and aliens, gaunt and terrified. Children cried softly. An elder raised a trembling hand. "Help us," she whispered. Chen knelt beside a small child, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now," she said. "We're here to rescue you." The colonists blinked at the Marines, hope and fear in their eyes. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Iron Requiem, Tal and Ren debated strategy. "If we bring them all aboard, resources will stretch thin," Tal said. Ren shook his head. "We can't abandon them. They're victims of the same twisted experiments." Voss interjected. "Life support can handle 200 more for now. We'll figure resupply later," Tal agreed. "Prepare medical teams and shuttles. We evacuate every survivor." He paused, voice heavy. "Then we purge these vines from the station." Down in the HAB module, Chen organized the families into small groups. The colonists explained their plight. The station had once been a research outpost engaged in vine-based energy studies. When the grounds broke containment, the vines overwhelmed equipment and staff. The survivors shut themselves in the HAB module, sending only one message out, a plea for rescue. Chen relayed the information via COM. "They trusted nobody else," she said softly. "Just us." Ren's voice crackled back. "We'll get them home." As shuttles arrived, the colonists filed out, guided by Marines. Chen waited until the last group departed, scanning for hidden dangers. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, and the vines along the corridor pulsated rapidly. A low growl reverberated through the station's hall. Chen raised her rifle. "Marines, defensive positions." She tapped her COM. "Captain, vines are reacting. They know we're here." Tal's voice was calm but urgent. "We locked this section down and apply treatment agents. Voss, send the divining teams." The station's biolab, once the heart of the experiments, now housed vats of glowing liquid and dormant spores. Divining teams in hazmat suits sprayed a neutralizing foam along clusters. The foam hissed and steamed, dissolving vines into harmless strands. But as the teams worked, the station shuddered. The vines lashed back, thrashing like enraged serpents. One team member stumbled, suit compromised. Marines raised shields too. Protect the lab workers, while Chen dashed forward, dragging the injured specialist to safety. Below decks, the station's AI core rebooted. Its synthesized voice filled the corridors. Containment breach detected. Initiating emergency protocols. Doors slammed shut, sealing off sections. The vines circled, seeking a way to reassert control. Chen's COM crackled. "Captain Tal, the station AI, is trying to quarantine us." Tal's reply came quickly. "Override the lockdown, Voss. Hack the AI core." "On the COM hologram?" "I'm on it. Give me a minute." In the AI chamber, Voss guided a team of engineers through access ports. The AI's defense mechanisms attacked with automated turrets and electric fields. Engineers dodged and worked. The override panel, Voss's fingers danced over the console. "I have to reset the ethical subroutines to accept human command," she muttered. Sparks flew as circuits overloaded. At last, the lights in the chamber flickered to green. "Done," Voss announced. Lockdown lifted. Back in the biolab, the neutralizing foam took full effect. Vines collapsed, leaving behind clean metal surfaces. Chen helped the specialist to his feet. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded, eyes wide. Thanks to you. She smiled briefly. Before more surprises, the Marines formed a wedge and escorted the survivors and staff toward the shuttle docks. On the bridge of the Aurora's light, Ren watched the station's readouts. AI core restored, station integrity at 60%. He nodded to Tal. They'll finish divining, and then we'll tow the station back for quarantine. Tal's gaze lingered on the battered structure. And we'll never let living storms run unchecked again. Ren placed a hand on Tal's shoulder. Your leadership saved lives today. Tal exhaled, relief mixing with fatigue. Another call as the last shuttle left, the Vine's pulse faded, and the station drifted silent once more. The colonists waved from the docking bay as shuttles vanished into the armada. Chen watched them go, heart swelling with pride. Beside her, Diaz grinned. One more rescue, she nodded. And we'll keep answering every SOS no matter where it comes from. High above, Tal and Ren issued final orders, shields humming in readiness. A new way station had been secured, and a fragile peace held. Yet beyond the stars, countless signals awaited Anne somewhere. A deeper mystery stirred. In the hush of space, the beacon's pulse resumed, faint but resolute. Humanity and its allies set course again, ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead. The fleet moved deeper into the Persine rift, the distant stars paling behind drifting clouds of cosmic dust. A new data burst had been traced to a derelict moon in the Riftan artificial satellite once used for covert research. Set course, Tal ordered, engines at half power. We preserve stealth. Around him, officers busied themselves. The low hum of engines, a steady heartbeat in the quiet command room. Lieutenant Kara Voss adjusted sensor arrays. Outside, the viewport, a granite sphere, came into view scarred with craters. In the Aurora's light, Commander Elias Ren reviewed reports with Private Suri Chen. The research here predates even the biotech base, he said. Logs mention Project Heliosan attempts to harness stellar radiation as a weapon. Chen frowned. If they succeeded, they could fry a planet from orbit. Ren's eyes hardened. We can't let that power fall into the wrong hands. As the armada slipped into the moon's shadow, scout drones drifted silently ahead. They returned images of a collapsed docking port and tunnels leading into the mountain's core. No signs of life, but subtle energy readings pulsed beneath the surface. They've buried something, Voss reported. Tal set his jaw. Prepare a landing party. We go in teams of 5. On the Iron Requiem's hangar, Deck Tal met with his best officers. Lieutenant Marek, Sub-Commander Etha, and 2 veteran Marines stood ready beside him. Our goal is the central reactor, Tal briefed. It's likely tied to the Helios project. We disable it, then extract any data. He turned to Voss. You lead Team Alpha with Chen. Marek leads Team Beta with Diaz. I'll remain on a support station in orbit, ready to evacuate. The landing shuttles pierced the moon's thin atmosphere, touching down on cracked black basalt. The airlock hissed, and Tal led Team Alpha into winding tunnels. Their lights reflected off damp walls, and each breath echoed, "Keep comes." Open, Tal whispered. No surprises. They advanced past collapsed pipes and charred scorch marks. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the corridor. Floor shifting, Voss warned, and the ceiling rattled as if ready to collapse. Team Beta encountered the same tremors further along the tunnel. Lieutenant Merrick signaled halt. Sensors are spiking, he whispered. Radiation levels. Rising. Corporal Diaz scanned with his portable reader. Proceed, but stay downwind of any vents. Deeper in the mountain, Voss's flashlight beam swept across a cavern filled with tall columns of white crystal, each glowing faintly. These crystals, Project Helios used them as a power. Matrix Tal touched the nearest column. And they're unstable. He studied the striations. We need to cut the energy flow at the main conduit. He tapped his cum. Eject charges on my mark. Hostile defense? Marek muttered. He and Diaz dived for cover. Marek fired an EMP round at the turret's base, and it sparked, collapsing in a shower of sparks. Clear, he said. Charge placement. Diaz slotted an ion explosive under the conduit, set for 3 seconds. The conduit exploded in a blast of light, sending a shockwave through the tunnel. Rocks fell, and vines along the walls, writhed from the concussion, fall back. Marek shouted through the dust above. The Iron Requiem's sensors recorded a massive energy drop. That did it, Tal said, relief mingling with tension. Now retrieve the data cores and get out. Voss's voice came on calm. We have the cores. Heading back. But static crackled afterward, and then silence. Tal's eyes narrowed. No sign of life. He tapped his panel. Signal is gone. Marek's voice cut in. We're pin tunnel collapse ahead. Tal swore. I'll route an access lift. Hold position. He spun to Etha. Secure the landing site. Evac shuttle on standby. In the reactor chamber, Chen helped Voss carry heavy data drives. They ran through the corridor, edges crumbling underfoot. Just as they reached the last bend, a distant explosion rocked the mountain. Dust and pebbles rained down. Back at the shuttle, Marek's team emerged just as Tal arrived in an emergency lift pod. Rocks tumbled and dust swirled in the fading light. Tal waved them aboard. Go, he ordered. The shuttle lifted off as the tunnel entrance collapsed. Behind them, sealing the reactor chamber forever. In orbit, Ren watched the video feeds of the explosion. He exhaled. Project Helios is buried for good. He paused, studying the holomap. But who built this moon station, and why did they abandon it? Tal shook his head. No clue. Data cores had gaps encrypted blocks we can't crack yet. Voss joined them on the holoscreen. We'll need specialists from Earth Quantum, cryptographers. Ren's expression hardened. Do whatever it takes. This secret could fall into the wrong hands. He pressed a command. Plot a course back to Kyler Prime. We need a secure lab. Tal stared at the blinking signal. Another call, he said. Wherever it comes from, we will answer. Ren placed a hand on Tal's shoulder. And we'll be ready. Bound by duty to heed every plea for help, no matter how deep in the void it lay. The Armada glided through the silent void, leaving the shattered moon station behind. Captain Aaron Tal stood on the Iron Requiem's bridge, eyes fixed on the halo display. The beacon's faint pulse blinked insistently, a lonely heartbeat, calling from deeper space. He tapped his gauntlet. Commander Ren, we need that code broken now. Every moment counts. Commander Elias Wren nodded from the Aurora's Lights command seat. We'll be at Kyler Prime in 6 hours. The cryptography team is ready. His voice held calm steel. Below them, the fleet formed a protective ring as they prepared for warp. Lieutenant Kara Voss monitored the engines. Warp path set, she confirmed. We jump on your mark. The fleet slipped into hyperspace. In the war room aboard the Iron Requiem, Voss Subcommander Etha and Lieutenant Marek gathered around a holotable. The table showed encrypted fragments from the data cores. These blocks defy every standard cipher, Voss explained, but our Kyler specialists believe they can extract a location. Etha frowned. A location for what? Voss gave a thin smile. That's what we must find out. Private Suri Chen sat in the mess hall with Corporal Diaz, sipping hot broth. He leaned forward. You think this beacon leads to another trap? Chen shook her head. I hope not, but we owe it to anyone who calls for help. A series of beeps signaled an incoming transmission. She tapped her Cumtal to mess hall. Moments later, his face appeared on the holoscreen. Chen, muster your team. We may need you again. In the Kyler Prime Research Lab, Dr. Allura Setis and Dr. Ishan Patel worked side by side. Holographic symbols flickered across their screens. Patel's brow furrowed. I'm aligning the quantum keys now, and got it. The encrypted blocks rearranged into a set of star coordinates, Setis gasped. These coordinates point to the silent sector near the Andron expanse. Patel's eyes shone. That region hasn't hosted traffic in centuries. Back on the Requiem, Tal greeted their return from hyperspace. Report, Voss relayed quickly. Kyler Lab confirms beacon originates near Andron expanse. No known colonies there. It may be a hidden outpost. Tal folded his arms. Gathered an advanced team. Chen Diaz, this mission is yours. Chen stood, voice firm. We're ready, Captain. Marek tapped his deck. We'll provide cover. The Armada set a new heading. In the mess hall, whispers spread another SOS. Deeper in uncharted space. But morale held firm. Soldiers, Marines, and engineers prepared gear, ever vigilant. In the docking bay, shuttles were loaded with supplies, medkits, and energy rifles. Chen walked among them, checking every strap and seal. Stay sharp, she reminded her team. This call for help might hide danger. Hours later, the Armada emerged at the edge of the Andron expanse, a vast field of shattered asteroids bathed in ghostly light. Scout drones swept ahead, mapping the region. Voss reported, life signs low, but distinct. They're sheltered inside a derelict station. Tal studied the display. The same station we bypassed long ago. We thought it empty. Ren's hologram appeared beside him. It sent no signals back then. Something changed. Chun's shuttle slid through the asteroid gates and into the station's battered docking bay. The air smelled of stale metal. The doors groaned open. Corroded corridors stretched ahead, lit by flickering emergency lamps. She signaled her Marines. Move out. Stay in pairs. The group advanced, rifles low, boots echoing on cracked floors. A soft humming drifted through the air. Powers active, Diaz noted. Someone's here. They turned a corner. Into a large chamber filled with ruined consoles. In the center stood a lone figura humanoid wearing a long coat patched with alien insignia. The figure held a small device that pulsed with the same beacon frequency. Chen raised her rifle, hands where I can see them. The stranger froze, then slowly raised both palms. Wait, please, came a calm voice. I'm not your enemy. Chun's boots clanged on the floor as she approached. The stranger lowered the device. My name is Sala Kerr, emissary of the Andron Refuge. We fled here when our homeworld was enslaved. She placed the beacon on a dented desk. I sent the SOS, hoping someone would find us. Diaz glanced at Chen. Refuge? Chen studied Kerr's weary eyes. You're telling the truth, Kerr nodded. Check our logs, they'll prove it. Lieutenant Voss's voice crackled. In Chun's earpiece, Captain Tao requests verification. He's inbound. Chun tapped her cum. Tao, we have a survivor, calls herself an emissary. She claims people are trapped inside. Tao's voice came low. Secure her. We'll be there shortly. Chun guided Kerr to her shuttle. Come with us. We'll check your story on the Requiem. Kira's shoulders slumped with relief. Thank you. Moments later, the Iron Requiem docked at the station's bay. Tal, Ren, and Voss disembarked. Kerr stood at the shuttle's ramp. Tal studied her coat. Emissary Kerr, show us your records. Kerr handed over a memory crystal. Voss linked it to her handheld reader. Streams of data scrolled. Confirmed logs show refugee manifests and dates. Ren's eyes softened. You're telling the truth. Suddenly, alarms blared. Intruder alert depth charge breach in Sector C. Merrick's voice echoed on all channels. They're coming, Marines shouted as dark shapes scuttled from side corridor stall armored humanoids. With glowing red eyes, Kerr stepped back, fear in her gaze. My pursuers, they found me. Chen raised her rifle. Line up, defend our exit, Tal barked orders. Hold the line at the shuttle bay. Voss, reroute power to defense turrets. Energy cannons flared at the station's entrances. The armored intruders advanced through fire, shields flickering, and fists striking metal walls. Marines fired volleys of ion bolts, cutting them down one by one, yet more pressed forward relentless. Kerr crouched behind a console. They will never stop hunting us. The corridor doors shook. Tal raced to Kerr's side. What do they want? Kerr's voice trembled. Our planet's secret's fuel for weapons. We refused to share, so they exiled me. Tal's fists clenched. Then we'll stand between them and your people. He turned to his Marines. Fall back to the becover every inch. As Chen's team limped toward the shuttle, Tal and Ren covered the rear. The station's turrets wreaked havoc, but the intruders kept coming. In the docking bay, Marines held their ground around Kerr. A final wave of intruders slammed into their shields. The turrets mustered one last burst, and the alien attackers fell back, wounded but unbeaten. Tal grabbed Kerr's hand. Go get to safety. She sprinted up the shuttle ramp as the hatch closed. Chen slammed the controls, and the shuttle lurched free. Outside, Tal and Ren raised energy barriers to hold the station's bay doors shut. Warp out, Tal ordered. We'll deal with them next. The shuttle's thrusters flared, vanishing into the asteroid field. On the bridge of the Iron Requiem, Tal flipped a switch, and the bay doors sealed. Ren placed a hand on his shoulder. You saved her, Tal exhaled. But there are more. survivors inside, and more pursuers on their way. He turned to Voss. Prepare for a counterstrike. We're not done yet. Outside, the beacon's pulse faded and then blazed anew, stronger, more urgent. In the silent reaches of the Andron Rift, a new battle for mercy and survival had only just begun. The Iron Requiem's hangar bay thrummed with activity as the shuttle carrying Sala Kerr and her precious data sword back into orbit. Outside the viewport, Captain Aaron Tal watched the asteroid field shrink behind them. His jaw was set, eyes hard with determination. They won't stop, he murmured. Those hunters are relentless. Lieutenant Kara Voss stood beside him, fingers poised over her console. We have enough firepower to hold them off, but barely. We need a plan, and fast. Below decks, Private Suri Chen prepared a briefing for her Marine squad. She checked each rifle's energy cells and secured additional medkits. Corporal Diaz joined her, concern lining his face. How many did we face back there? He asked quietly. Chen shook her head. Too many. They keep coming in waves. She tapped her cum badge. Captain Tal wants us ready to board again if necessary. On the bridge of the Aurora's light, Commander Elias Wren studied the holomap. The station's location blinked in red amid the Andron Rift. A secondary wave of hostile ships had been sighted by scout drones. Wren frowned. They'll starve Kerr's people of supplies if we don't act soon. He leaned closer to his console. Divert all support to shuttle lanes. We're sending emergency runs tonight. Tal gathered his senior officers in the strategy room, a circular chamber lit by soft red glow. Subcommander Etha and Lieutenant Merrick took seats opposite him. Voss and Wren joined via HoloLink. Tal began in a calm, steady voice. We have 20 minutes before the next wave hits. We must extract the remaining refugees and data cores. Then we destroy any hunters who stand in our path. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. We do this together, humans, and Deathworlders as one. Ethan nodded. We can deploy stealth fighters from the Requiem's dorsal bays. They'll flank the enemy ships and draw fire away from our shuttles. Marek tapped his gauntlet. I'll lead Team Gamifast boarding parties to recover any stragglers from the station corridors. Wren added, medical shuttles will park on the far side, ready for wounded. Voss sealed the plan. All ships will converge on me once evacuation is complete. Then we hit them with everything. As alarms sounded, the fleet shifted into battle formation. The Aurora's light fired up its engines, propelling the first wave of escort frigates into the asteroid lanes. Tal moved to the cum station. Chen, I prepare for liftoff. You board the next shuttle, Chen's steady reply crackled back. Ready, Captain? Marines are in position. Over the tannoy, the call to arms filled every corridor and deck. The shuttle decks became a whirlwind of motion. Refugees, pale and trembling, lined up behind barriers, clutching blankets and ration pouches. Marine squads flanked them, calming frightened voices. Chen knelt beside a young Andron child, offering a soft smile. You'll be safe with us, she said, lifting the child gently. The child pressed a small Toyon-etched stone into Chun's palm. Chun tucked it into her uniform pocket. I'll keep this, she whispered. Outside, the first stealth fighters emerged from hidden bays. They darted among the enemy ships, firing ion disruptors that crippled engines and sent vessels spinning into drifting asteroids. Energy suits flared as shields held. Tal watched the display. They're buying us time, he said to Voss. Now let's use it. Shuttles lifted off the station platform, carrying refugees and data drives. Chun's team worked swiftly. One squad secured the docking clamps, another loaded the wounded. Diaz oversaw the fuel transfers, sweat beading on his brow under his helmet's lights. Hurry, Chen urged. They'll breach this bay soon. A distant blast rattled the bulkheads. Diaz gritted his teeth. Almost there in the asteroid. Field, the Requiem's heavy cannons roared. Plasmas cut through enemy hulls, and pieces of twisted metal drifted into void. Wren coordinated the fleet. Marines, I want every incoming ship intercepted. Protect the shuttles at all costs. His voice was calm but firm, steel layers beneath. Squad leaders relayed his orders, and Marine detachments vaulted into action packs, boarding small tenders to intercept enemy fighters. Back on the station, the final shuttle prepped for departure. Marek's Team Gamma emerged from the corridors, dragging an injured researcher on a stretcher. The researcher coughed, eyes wide with relief. "I thought we were lost." Marek offered a steady hand. "Not on our watch." They sprinted toward the hatch as automated turrets flared behind them. Chun's shuttle engines flared. She glanced over her shoulder to see several enemy fighters break through the perimeter drones, closing rapidly. "They're on us," she shouted. Marines braced on the hatch deck, rifles raised. Chen unlatched her harness. "Cover fire," she ordered. The Marines swung into position, firing stun rounds that rippled through the enemy shields. One fighter spun away in a trail of sparks. Diaz cut the last restraints. "We're clear." The pilot, Lieutenant Hera, powered up the thrusters. The shuttle jolted free of the station, the bay doors sealing shut behind them. The flashlight-grade corridors vanished in the blistering glare of the shuttle's rear engines. Inside the shuttle, refugees breathed sighs of relief. Chen helped the researcher to a seat. The young Andron child peeked out the viewport, fear giving way to wonder. "Look," the child whispered. Outside the Requiem, an Aurora's light unleashed a devastating volley against the remaining fighters. Ion blasts punched through armor, and ships disintegrated in arcs of light. Tal's voice echoed through the shuttle's comm. "All clear. Return to the Requiem for debriefing." "Excellent work, everyone." As the shuttle docked, Chen steadied. Her nerves, Marines unloaded stretchers and data drives. She stepped onto the Requiem's deck, exhaustion and triumph mingling in her chest. Tal awaited her at the ramp, arms crossed but eyes warm. "You did well, Lieutenant." His praise was quiet, but genuine. Chen nodded. "Thank you, sir. Everyone is safe." On the bridge, Ren and Voss greeted the arrival. Voss studied the data core, thumbs moving over encrypted sections. "We have enough to start decrypting the highest priority files," she reported. Ren placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let's get to work." In the Requiem's secure lab, Dr. Ishan Patel and Dr. Allura Setis prepared to analyze Kerr's manifests and the station logs. The holoscreen flickered with lines of code. Setis gazed at the incoming data, these files. They revealed the true scope of persecution against Andron refugees. Their world was raised for refusing to weaponize their biology. Her voice shook. "We must expose this." Tal entered the lab, flanked by Talon, the Deathworlder veteran. "We'll present this to the Galactic Council," Tal said. "The Emperor's court must shut down such operations, galaxy-wide," Patel added. "Earth's endorsement, we can enforce sanctions and offer asylum." Setis's eyes glowed with resolve. "Then let it be so." Later, in the Requiem's mess hall, survivors and crew gathered for a humble meal. The hum of conversation filled the air Andrans, sharing thanks in their gentle language. Marines. Listening with smiles, Chen found the young child offering back the etched stone. The child's eyes lit up. "For you?" Chen said softly. The child nodded. "Thank you." Chen tucked the toy into her pocket once more. Outside, the Armada slipped away from the Andron Rift. Tal and Ren stood together on the upper deck, gazing into the infinite darkness. Stars dotted the sky like candles in the night. Ren sighed. "One SOS led us across the galaxy. We answered each call and saved lives." Tal placed a hand on Ren's shoulder. "And we will answer the next." Wherever a cry for help echoes, humanity and Deathworlders will stand ready. A silence followed, filled with promise. The beacon pulses faded behind them, but new signals awaited on the edge of known space. In every corner of the universe, someone would send a plea into the void, and a new generation of guardians would heed the call. In that vast, silent sea of stars, hope burned brighter than any weapon, guiding them toward the next signal, the next rescue, the next chapter in their shared destiny.